All right, welcome back. We have Congressman Jeff Landry with us, and we appreciate that. We're talking about a lot of things, and going into the break, we were talking about Speaker John Boehner. And of course, he was such in a tough position because if he does the wrong thing, and on the Republican side, if he gives the Democrats any ammunition, he's probably thinking election, this upcoming election. But also, I thought the Democrats did a good job of spinning it to the public and creating gloom and doom when personally a lot of people felt there was no gloom and doom. And then, of course, the liberal media picked up on it, so Boehner was at a tough position.
He was. Look, just because, the press back in Washington tried to make a big stink over a number of us who, during the day, as his bill was coming up that Thursday evening, who were not voting for it, to try to say, well, are you dissatisfied with the speaker? Do you not like him? I've got a tremendous amount of respect. I think that John Boehner has a lot of credibility and integrity. I think it's our job. He has a tough job. He has to be the Speaker of the whole House. He has to move 218 members of his own delegation to get any bill out. There's 240 of us out there, and it's our job to go out there and convince him that you can be a little more bold. Give him a little more courage. It's lonely up there at the top, and so that's what we tried to do that day. When we wasn't trying to be disrespectful of his bill, we were just trying to make a good bill a better one.
But you also talked about the fact he seems to be a genuinely nice guy.
He is extremely genuine.
With a lot of character.
He does. I'm telling you, he has more credibility and integrity than certainly Harry Reid or the president. When he tells you something, you can pretty much take it to the bank.
So to be mean or to be bold might be a little out of character for him.
I think he has so much respect for the institution, and he cannot believe, it's hard for him, and I've seen him struggle with this, to believe that someone would sit in the presidency and do the things that they're doing to this country. It's hard for him to accept that. He wants to look towards the best in everyone, which there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that we've had 2 years of it, and I haven't seen anything good come out of it.
I've heard rumors that the president or Harry Reid actually really, almost to a demeaning level, would lecture him. Is there any truth to that?
Well, they have, we heard, from Majority Leader Canna and the Speaker that, the negotiations that went on at the White House were mostly, pretty much lecturing sessions by the president, telling them, exactly what he expected them to go back and do. That certainly doesn't set the tone for any true negotiations. And of course, you saw Eric Canna left the table early on, and Boehner walked away from it as well.
There's no diplomacy in lecturing, huh?
There's none. There's none. And I'm not interested in being lectured to. I'm just interested in moving this country forward.
Yeah. Let's talk, Congressman, about oil and gas. Of course, it's near and dear to your area, and you fought hard to rescind basically Obama's blockade of the oil and gas industry. Bring us up to speed on what's been happening with that, or do you feel you're making progress?
Well, I think we are making progress. We have held a number of hearings through the Natural Resources Committee. In fact, we brought the Natural Resources Committee here to Homa about 4 or 5 months ago. Every time, again, it's so ironic that every time we bring Director Bromwich or Secretary Salazar before the committee, we seem to miraculously find another exploration permit. I wish we'd start getting a 2-for-1 rather than a 1-for-1. But I think we are getting some places. I think that the continual pressure, the oversight, scrutinizing the budget have given us some leverage to try to block that, to get through that blockade. And I'm optimistic.
Right. Now, a couple of bills that I want to talk about. One, the Power Act. Let's start with the Power Act.
The Power Act is a bill that we hope to bring to the floor in the next few months that basically makes the rest of the wind industry have to abide by Jones Act, just like the oil and gas industry. It protects American workers. If our oil and gas guys have to abide by the Jones Act, I think the wind industries should as well. Seemed to be a gray area, and so this is an opportunity to close that loophole. We're going to get bipartisan support in that, because you know what, the Jones Act seamen up on the East Coast are the same Jones Act seamen down in Louisiana, and I was proud. I think we just had Congressman Larson from Washington State, one of the ranking members on T&I, a Democrat, sign on to the bill as well.
I saw an interesting, scenario where these windmills are killing bald eagles, golden eagles, and no fines are being issued. Then of course, if an oil spill kills a few, same amount of birds, they get fined out the wazoo, but nothing's happening with the windmills.
Well, it certainly was interesting to sit in a Natural Resources Committee and listen 2 hours of testimony and have panels of the wind and solar industry sit there and tell me and the rest of the members that it's time to do something about these frivolous environmental lawsuits. I like to pass out. And I said, look, my question to them was simple. I said, I understand. I feel y'all pain. My people back home feel that pain as well. My question to you is, would you support judicial reform across all the industries? Okay, well, then they started squirming, It put them in an awkward position, and it should be, because we should not be treating any industry any different. The rules should be fair across the board. That is government's role.
And I guess my point would be, if the shrimpers have to have excluding devices to save the turtles, then maybe the windmills have to build nets around, or big nets around their windmills to stop the birds from flying.
Look, it's a good point. And while you're talking about shrimpers, we got some great news this week. I don't know if you picked up on that, on the fact that the U.S. Wildlife and Fisheries is not going to require additional TEDs on the nets. And it was something we pushed for, again, in an oversight committee. So we are having an impact. It may not be through legislation, but I think through proper oversight, you can achieve the same goal.
And you make a good point. It may not be the legislation, but we all know, and we've seen the administration do it, they don't have to go heavy on something if they don't want to, right?
That's exactly correct. We have had a lot of success, whether it be with the shrimping industry on this TEDS issue, with the Coast Guard and the NOA, Notice of Arrival, on those standby on vessels that were going back and forth over the OCS. Just conducting proper oversight seems to be getting us moving in the right direction.
Let's talk about Natural Resources Restoration Act and all that, and talk a little bit more about the broad base of that.
Well, Senator Vitta and I each filed companion bills that were going to affect the NERDA fines, and asked that were going to mandate that BP put up 20%, I believe it was, of the fine money now, because it could take 10, 15, 20 years in order to adjudicate or mitigate the damages. And look, there's not a shrimping community out there, or communities around here that have that amount of time to wait for our coast erodes. We put those bills up, companion legislation, one in the Senate, one in the House, and we got results. BP came to the table, put up $1 billion to go towards that, and so I think we're getting places. Congressman Steve Scalise has a bill that we hope to work on that's going to allocate and divide up that fine money, so it just doesn't go in the federal treasury, but that Louisiana gets its fair share to work on our coast.
Let me jump questions, because I had a question about, I was going to get to Obamacare next, but you made a good point. Marquise from Massachusetts.
Marquis,
Yeah. He's trying to take the royalty monies away from Louisiana, and when I hear this, it always raises a big old red flag.
He's doing this because he's seeing that we are starting to make progress in getting additional states to want to drill off their coast. We passed legislation through the Natural Resources Committee and through the House to open up more areas off the coast of Virginia. It makes him nervous. The man hates the oil and gas industry. Right. It is so hypocritical for him to put this bill up, because he sits there in the committee and rants about the environmental protection that we need in this country, and yet that royalty money is used for environmental protection, Martin.
What have, and I'm not going to say all Democrats, because some Democrats get the fact that oil and gas production is important to this nation's entire economy. But now that the economy is sputtering, they still fight the fact that it wouldn't stimulate the economy?
Look, I don't know any other way to say it. James Carville once said it, that it's the economy, stupid.
Right.
I want to tell the other side, it's energy, stupid. I mean, it's that simple. If we got our energy sector rolling, if we were producing, if we expanded our use of natural gas, if we started getting back to drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, there was a report that was put out the other day said that we automatically create 250,000 jobs just by getting back to pre-Macondo level permitting. It would start to stimulate the economy. Consumers would pay less at the pump. They pay less in their utility bills. When they do that, they have more in their pocket to spend. Manufacturers who run those factories spend less on their energy. It just works. I don't know what they don't understand about it.
It baffles me of who would be advising the president, because he's been down here.
It baffles you?
Yeah,
it baffles me.
Yeah, I understand. and you're right in the heart of it.
I'm looking over there. And
how can they not know that just to give a few more permits would probably, it could change the whole marketplace?
Well, we got to remember, look, this administration, this president, people who he's appointed have in past previously said that Americans need to pay higher energy bills. They need to pay more at the pump. They need to pay more electricity bills in order to save the environment. I say no. I say we need to pay lower energy bills to save our jobs. Yeah. And at the same time, we can protect the environment. We've shown that. We've been drilling off our coast since 1947. We just need the royalty relief money to fix the coast up so that we can stop the erosion and get us some nice solid hurricane protection here to protect that infrastructure.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to jump to Obamacare and a few other topics, and then I'm going to get the congressman's take on a barge in St. Mary, and also I might try to get his input on the presidential nominee in the Republican Party, and then the Obama bus tour. We'll see what he thinks about that. Don't go away.